Welcome to the Morning Miss 99 Above and Beyond Schizophrenia. We're retired, but we're going to get the job done. So, I want to talk about a request that somebody placed in the comment section asking me. That is to talk about my experience with overcoming the hallucinations such as auditory, visual, or thought broadcasting. Now, I talked about some of these in previous videos, but I want to expand on this, and I think it wasn't a particular video dealing with this. It may have been in some other video, but anyway, I want to expand on it and make it its own thing. So, the first thing is, and I'm going to have to touch on some things that I already talked about, but the first thing is, in order for you to even begin this kind of effort, you have to recognize that you are ill. That's the first step. If you don't recognize that there is a battle to be fought, you're not even going to be able to fight. So that's the first and foremost. But since we're here, I assume and presume that we already have that understanding. Now, obviously, those symptoms, hallucinations, and thought broadcasting and other symptoms of schizophrenia I've experienced, and I've got through them without medication. In fact, when I stopped medications, I actually made the biggest progress that a medication didn't afford me over the years. So I'm not against medications. Don't misunderstand. I am for them. I support them. And in fact, I will make another video talking about my thought on medications and so forth. So I'll do another video detailing all that. But I do think that they have their place in treatment. But I still chose to abandon them. And that's largely in part because they were not working. And they end up, in fact, it was just kind of funny because I was confused. Confusion was a symptom that I had from schizophrenia. And then one of the side effects of the med I was taking was confusion. So I was confused while on the med. So I chose to abandon it for that reason, because it was a funny thought to me, and I just tossed it. And but I didn't do so simply for that reason. I did so also because I had a plan, and I had the understanding that what I was up against wasn't the reality that I thought it was. And I know because it wasn't, I knew how to handle it. And this is where maybe a lot of people get into trouble when they stop their medication, was that they aren't sold on the idea, the thought that these aren't real enough. And so they allow it to overwhelm them, right? But because of my knowledge and my understanding, it wasn't able to overwhelm me, and I understood that there's rules to this game, right? There are rules to it, and I was able to use that to my advantage. So once we know what we're up against, and we know what the destination is, we can start crafting a plan to overcome that obstacle and get to that destination, right? So you're going to say, what is the destination? Well, where do you want to go to, right? If you are having, let's say, that the thought broadcasting, these other symptoms, and so you want those to disappear, right? So the destination is more like a peaceful mind, away from all of this. right? You know where you want to go, away from all this. These are the things that are in your way. So how do we get around them? How do we overcome this obstacle in order to reach this destination? Now, these symptoms, they produce something, right? They're not there just for nothing. You know, there is, if you have, let's say, and I never had this by itself, but let's say somebody has just the uncontrollable thoughts by itself, right? Controllable thoughts, they speaking all kinds of things that you don't want to hear. That stuff would be annoying, right? It'd be annoying, and depends on what it's saying. It might be a little bit makes you anxious, makes you fearful, but it's not. But it's localized just to your mind, right? So that alone lessens the depth of anxiety and the fear and all that. But if you couple that with thought broadcasting, it creates an even bigger fear, bigger anxiety, right? And all of this is to push you into a place where you're just kind of torn down mentally, right? Those symptoms alone are one thing, right? Let's say the thought broadcasting, let's say even the uncontrollable thoughts, the hallucinations, whatever. They're one thing, but those alone aren't the thing that gets you. It's what they give birth to. Those are the problem, right? That's where it really gets you, because that's where you get the anxiety from. That's what it is. The anxiety it is offspring of those. The fear. All of these are the offspring, and the problem is when those offspring start to mature. It starts off small, and the more we allow it to remain, it's sort of like nurturing it, and it grows to a level that we can't even control. It utterly dwarfs us, right? So this is where you're coming from. If you've lived with these things for years, that's where you're coming from. You're just a small old thing in this big monster looking down at you. And that's what you got to go after. That's what's going to be in your way in order to get where you got to get to. You know, if you ever listen to Jordan Peterson, he's a psychologist, I believe he is. Was a teacher. I'm not sure if he still is in some Ontario University, whatever the heck it is. But he talks about going to the lair of the dragon to slay the dragon before it comes to your village. He says if the dragon comes to your village, it's too late. you're done. I'm not sure it says it exactly like that, but you know, that's when you're in way big trouble then. Because you think about it, the dragon comes into your village, it's a fire-breathing thing. It's a monster. It's going to burn the whole place down. You know, it's going to leave you in ruin. And so when I heard that, I liken schizophrenia to that, because I thought it was a great analogy. You know, I likened it to a fire. A fire where you're approaching it, and the heat it pushes you away. The closer you get, the more it burns, and so naturally you don't want to go to the flames, so you don't want to get burned, so you pull away. But into the flame is where you need to go. Into the fire is what you're looking for is in the middle of it, but it's so hot you can't go. it pushes you back. But if you can just recognize and withstand that heat, recognize the heat is only going to burn you so much. And if you can withstand it and keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and when you get into the center of it, you realize it's not burning you. It's just puts up this heat there to push you away, but the treasure that you're after is in the middle. And as long as you stay away from it, you'll never recover what you're after. So you have to go there. The very place that you don't want to go is where you need to be. And that's what Jordan Peterson, when he's talking about this dragon, that's exactly right. Because the dragon is the keeper, the guard. Right? I'm not sure I don't recall if that's what he had it as. But anyways, it was something that you need to attend to and to overcome before it, brings destruction with it in your life. Right? But the way I see it, and when it comes to mental illness, is this dragon it comes to your village already. It burnt the whole thing already. And then after that, an invading army came and captured you, right? So now you manage, let's say, to slip away from the invading army, you slip away from the capture, you come back to your village, the whole thing is laid waste, burnt to the crisp, nothing is standing, you're looking there, walls are done, everything is done, right? Now, you're not safe. This army is going to come back. You figure, if they're missing, they might want to come looking for you, and you don't know who else is going to be coming through this. So you got to get things built up. You got work to do. You're not safe. You're exposed, whatever, right? But the dragon also is a threat. If you're going to build back up, this thing is over here anyways, and it's going to come back and do what it did. And also, that thing took things that belong to you. Very precious things that you need in order to rebuild. It's a very intelligent dragon, right? So he captured some of your stuff that you need in order to rebuild. So you have no choice. Either you live in ruin or you go to that lair of that dragon. And that's what you got to do. You look to the rubbles, you find a little sword. You know where the dragon's lair is. You got to go to the lair, right? And so the dragon now is all these things we're talking about, these symptoms. So my mom now was also pretty much representative in some way of this dragon, right? Or a dragon. She stood in my way. Or she was something that pushes me back. And I felt this way. And not just her, other people as well, but because I lived with her and there was just a thought that I had against her due to the psychosis. So she was someone, an easy target for me to manage myself and to overcome the things that were holding me down and holding me back. So she comes home, right? I'm going to deal with the situation in my house. She comes home and I know exactly I got to go slay this dragon, right? And now the dragon isn't my mom per se, although she was almost representative of that in some way, because even though it was miserable on my own, when I go before her, everything just ramps up, right? So I'm going into the fire, and my mom comes home. I'm heading out. There is a will here. I'm not forced to do this. I am choosing to do this. To me, there is value here. You understand? The value isn't in isolation. the value, and this is also important. Today, there's a lot of talk on safe spaces and all these things. Fine, you do you. That's good. It's all right. But the thing about having a safe space or remaining in the safety is that it's only safe as long as an enemy does not approach it, right? As long as an enemy doesn't come and invade their space, you're safe, you're good, right? But you think about, nations like you got Taiwan and you got China, and China wants Taiwan. And now Taiwan could say, you know what, we're living here and we're safe and we're living in this wonderful place and you're good, you're safe. But the thing is, you're only safe as long as this enemy leaves you alone. So you're not really safe. Safety is an illusion. You understand? It's all dependent on how this guy acts. If he's going to leave you alone, you're safe. So the only way for Taiwan to really be safe is for them to have an adequate defense that could deter China from coming after them. Right? That's the only way you can say we're safe. Something that's going to make a difference and makes your enemy wants to leave you alone. So, and that's what safe spaces are. They're all right. But when a little stress come against your safety buffer, you're going to fall apart because you're not equipped. Right? So, as long as I remain in the safety of isolation and be comfortable, you're good. As long as somebody does not push against my safety, my comfort zone. So me now choosing to recognize I am safe in this room where I used to be in my mom's place. I was comfortable. So when she came home now, I made a conscious decision to say, I do not want to just be safe in this place. I want to be safe anywhere I went. So I've got to enlarge in myself and my ability to feel safe even in, outside of this place. This is why it has to be a choice. You have to consciously choose with an intent to make something happen for yourself, right? And so I went out there knowing exactly what I was up against, because that's the thing that kept me confined here anyways, right? So if I truly want to be safe, I have to go in the lair of the dragon. I have to go in the fire. The things that are going to make me uncomfortable, I need to stand before that, right? And I have to overcome these things. So she comes home, and I now left my room to talk to her, to say hi, to do all these things. And now I'm talking, and this is what I talked about in these other videos. And my thoughts are raging, and she said something to me. So this is a thought broadcasting now. She's reading my mind and commenting on my thoughts. So, something, when she says something, it makes me, that reflects what I was thinking. It makes me want to run, want to go back to isolation. And it hits me in a way that just makes me like, oh man, I'm doubting whether this is real, whether she's really in my mind, because I doubt the whole delusion, and this wasn't of God, and I'm no prophet or whatever. So now I'm wondering, is this real? And when she comments on the thoughts and the things that go in my mind, it makes me want to pause and say, oh my God, it's still there. She's this, that, and then take off. But this is what I would do before. But now I'm like, it hits, and I feel it for a second, but I just kind of keep moving through it. I don't stop for too long. I don't let it turn in my head. I don't hold to it. So when I say you're holding to something or let it go, usually when you hold to it, it's like the thought comes and you kind of let it spin in your head. You grab onto it and you think about it and you ruminate on it. Just don't do that. Let it go. It hits. She says these things and it hits, and I want to stop. I want to run. I just let it go. Just keep moving. And I keep just asking another question, right? And so I'm anxious, and I'm trying to just be present-minded, focus on what's happening, not on how the anxieties and the whatever it is, all that negative stuff. I'm just trying to be in the moment and dealing with things as they come up, right? So this is the midst of the fire. This is the dragon that I'm fighting right now, right? It's anxiety. It's the thoughts and all these things that want to come at me, and we are fighting. We're doing battle. This is how it is. We're doing battle, and how I handle this is going to determine the outcome of this battle, whether I lose or win this outcome, right? So I'm fighting for my own need to feel safe, to feel calm, and be able to interact with people without being ruled by fear and anxiety and all these things, right? So this is what I'm fighting for. And so at first I took 5 minutes of this before I said, okay, well, I'm going to go back and watch some show or whatever. And I went back to my room, and after that, I just went to my room, closed my door. I almost fell over, put my hand on something. I said, oh, man, I didn't realize how much pressure that was. But the next day, I done it again, and it was a incredible experience, but it's all because I was able to withstand it, because I was a willing participant. I was never forced into this. No one convinced me of it. This is something that I wanted to do because I saw value in it. You understand? I wasn't pushed into it. I don't hesitantly walk into this. No, there was something there, and I wanted, and I had to struggle to stay in the midst of this fire. And the more I stayed in it, the more I entered it, the more of myself I was able to capture, because I started to feel more comfortable, right? So it doesn't mean the thought broadcasting, the auditory hallucinations and the visual, like I saw the demonic stuff in her face. It didn't leave right away, but the more I put myself there, the more I just let those things go and focused on the present and just embrace where I want it to be, not where I am. This is what some people get caught up in, probably, is just looking at where you are and just embracing that, but embrace where you want to be. Look at that and allow that to pull you forward, because you will end up meeting that. Right? So by continually exposing myself and challenging those things, it got easier over time. It just takes some time, takes some effort, and when you stop giving your attention to the negatives are going to leave. You give attention to what you want to live, what you want to grow, and that's how, because those things are like seeds. They get planted in your heart, and the more you nurture them, you water them by giving them your attention, your care, and they will grow. And the other stuff, the weeds, the fear, the anxieties, those grow real quick, but they'll die out. And then you'll have what was stolen back from you. So that's how you deal with the thoughts, broadcasting, the visual, auditory hallucinations. It's all in recognizing the truth, recognizing that these things aren't real, and just standing before them, letting them fall. Don't hold to them. Don't put your attention in those. Put your attention in what you want. The uncontrollable thoughts, I just learned to, I'm thinking, I'm saying all this vile stuff, and my mom's reading my mind, and I'm thinking, it's not stuff you feel good your mom hearing you saying, or anybody, but I had to come to a point where I said, well, if somebody comes in my house and they don't like what they see, get out. Get out. So if this is my house and somebody comes in, read my thoughts, and you're commenting good or this, or I feel awkward about you hearing some of the things going on, I don't care. That's your problem, because you're the one that chose to come in, right? So that's kind of how I looked at it at first, because I wasn't sure if that was really happening or not, or it was just my projection. So I presume that, okay, if it is real, then it's your problem, not mine. As long as your problem, I just let those things go. The thoughts weren't mine. I said, if it's my thoughts, I would be able to stop it. It's my hand, I can move it. My mouth, I'm moving it. I stop it when I don't want it to speak. So it's my mind. If thoughts are going and I can't stop it, chances are it's not mine. So by recognizing that, I just allowed the thoughts to whatever they want. And I'm okay now with her or whoever seeing that, hearing that, commenting on it, your problem because you choose to listen. And by that, and as long as you don't let those things bother you, they're gonna leave you alone. You know, it's that's the hard part, is to not allowing them to bother you. And it's a difficult thing because, you know, medications might help you deal with those things. So when you step off medications, you're stepping in some shaky ground. And if you are not solid on these things and how to manage them, you'll end up getting swept away, right? That dragon will just rise up and snap at you and devour you. So it's like a game, but it's a very serious game, and it could cost you. You know, it costs your sanity, it costs you your life. So you know, you gotta really be sure what you're doing. So this is where you gotta understand having faith, having hope, having otherwise you can't go into this completely naked and unarmed. You have to have things that will protect you. And the same way, you know, we're just so used to looking at this physical world and things of this world, but this mental world is a world of laws and rules, and it is a battleground. And on this battleground, you have weapons. You must take weapons. You must be armed. You must be prepared. And a lot of times we don't recognize that that's what's necessary. So the weapons that we use are not these things that you're used to using in this world. It's where the hope and the faith and the courage and those things come from, right? That's where you need those things. That's what's going to help you to stand in that battlefield. Those will help us in this natural world as well, but even more so up there. That's the real the realm that these things exist on. And so does schizophrenia and other mental illnesses, things that we want to overcome in that space. And they're going to help you when you go into the fire or you're going to confront that dragon. So that's how I dealt with that. And you can use this kind of advice and those tools to overcome the same in your life.